The date is March 27, 1988, and Trump Plaza in Atlantic City plays host to WrestleMania IV, a glittering showcase of ambition, muscle, and marketing. The air thrums with electricity, tension, and the high-stakes drama of a tournament designed to crown a new champion after Jack Tunney's unprecedented decision to vacate the title. 14 men step into this crucible of opportunity, each chasing wrestling's ultimate prize. Among them, the menacing figure of the one-man gang looms large, a living embodiment of the raw, unfiltered power that defined the golden era, and a man unknowingly standing on the edge of transformation. His name alone conjures images of singular, devastating menace, and his presence does not disappoint. Managed by the verbose and perpetually opportunistic Slick, the one-man gang is an imposing monolith of a man, billed at a staggering 6 feet 9 inches and weighing over 450 pounds. His head, shaved save for a jagged mohawk, accentuates a scowl that seems permanently etched onto his face. His attire, jeans and heavy chains, reinforces the biker gang aesthetic, a visual shorthand for lawlessness and brute strength. He carries himself with the intimidating swagger of the urban jungle from which he is ostensibly spawned, Chicago's gritty Halsted Street, a detail that lends him an air of dangerous authenticity. For his first-round encounter, the one-man gang faces a challenge of equally monstrous proportions in Bam Bam Bigelow. Bigelow, with his flame-adorned attire and agile, surprisingly acrobatic movements for a man of his size, is himself a formidable, captivating presence. Yet even against Bigelow's unique blend of power and showmanship, the one-man gang stands out. He possesses a primal, unrefined intensity that Bigelow, for all his dynamism, cannot quite match. The gang is a force of nature, an unstoppable object, and in this tournament, on this grandest stage, he is positioned as a legitimate threat to the championship. The bell rings, and the two colossal men collide. The match is a brutal, chaotic affair, a clash of titans that serves as a testament to their combined power. Bam Bam is seemingly dominating the match, but Slick soon inserts himself, slyly pulling down the top rope, sending Bigelow crashing to the floor. As Bigelow scrambles to recover, one-man gang positions himself like a wall of flesh and fury, obstructing any return. The referee counts to 10, and victory by countout is awarded to the gang. It's not a decisive pinfall, not a clean victory, but it is a win, and in the context of a championship tournament, it is all that matters. While his journey would ultimately end in the semifinals against the Macho Man Randy Savage, the one-man gang had, within the confines of WrestleMania IV, solidified his standing as a credible, towering villain within the Federation. He wasn't just another big man, he was a legitimate contender, a monstrous hurdle for any babyface hoping to reach the pinnacle of the promotion. His presence at WrestleMania IV was not an isolated incident, but rather a culmination of his steady ascent. By early 1988, he was a genuine fixture on Federation television. He had participated in the historic inaugural Survivor Series pay-per-view in November 1987, aligning himself with Andre the Giant's formidable team against Hulk Hogan's contingent. He was also a participant in the first-ever Royal Rumble, a groundbreaking concept that would become one of the Federation's signature events, where he was one of the last two men in the ring, eliminated only by the tenacious Jim Duggan. These appearances weren't accidental. They were strategic placements designed to establish him as a top-tier villain, a believable threat in a company increasingly reliant on larger-than-life characters. What makes his later reinvention so perplexing, so jarring, is that George Gray had spent the better part of a decade meticulously crafting and refining the one-man gang persona. Born in Chicago in 1960, Gray's journey into professional wrestling began at a remarkably young age, training in the Carolinas and debuting at just 17. He honed his craft on the regional independent circuit, wrestling under various monikers, but it was in the Mid-South territory, under the watchful eye of manager Skandor Akbar, that the one-man gang name truly took hold, a perfect encapsulation of his lone wolf, destructive modus operandi. Throughout the early to mid-1980s, Gray, as the one-man gang, carved a path of destruction across numerous territories. He was a perennial main event heel, known for his relentless power and intimidating demeanor. In the Universal Wrestling Federation, he reached the pinnacle, capturing the heavyweight championship and holding it for 6 months. defending against top babyfaces like Jim Duggan. By the time the World Wrestling Federation came calling in 1987, George Gray had not merely created a character, he had become the one-man gang, a daunting, established juggernaut heel. His Federation debut in May 1987, under the management of Slick, immediately set the tone. He annihilated enhancement talent in brutal, swift matches, often going beyond the bell to deliver a gourdbuster, a move so impactful it resulted in a kayfabe $10,000 fine for attacking a referee. This calculated aggression built him into a dominant force, leading to high-profile encounters with the Federation's biggest stars, including Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. While he often fell short in these main event clashes, the nature of his losses rarely diminished his credibility. He was a genuine threat who required extraordinary effort to defeat. He was, in essence, exactly what the Federation needed. A colossal villain capable of elevating the top babyfaces and providing compelling opposition. Then came September 1988, just 6 months after his impressive showing at WrestleMania IV. The wrestling world, and indeed the one-man gang's career, took an inexplicable, bewildering turn. On an episode of Superstars, a vignette aired that would forever alter his trajectory. Gene Okerlund, in what was bizarrely framed as the deepest, darkest parts of Africa, introduced a reborn one-man gang. Slick declared that gang had embraced his African roots, and out emerged Akeem, the African Dream. The transformation was shocking, to say the least. The commanding biker brawler was now sporting a dashiki and a fez, performing a caricature of a jive dance, and speaking in a heavily stereotypical, exaggerated black accent. The segment was immediately and rightfully criticized for its racially insensitive and cartoonish portrayal. The reasons behind this drastic gimmick change remain a subject of debate and bewilderment among wrestling historians and fans. Perhaps it was an attempt to inject humor into a character that was seen as too one-dimensional, but whatever the rationale, it was a catastrophic misstep. The intimidating, believable monster heel was instantly turned into a comedic figure, a parody of a racial stereotype. The authenticity that had taken a decade to build was shattered in a single, ill-conceived vignette. Despite the questionable nature of the gimmick, Akeem was initially positioned as a significant player. He quickly formed a formidable tag team with the Big Boss Man, also managed by Slick, known as the Twin Towers. Their sheer size and Slick's manipulative machinations made them a potent force. They were immediately thrust into a high-profile feud with the Mega Powers, the super team of Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage. The Twin Towers were instrumental in the storyline that eventually led to the implosion of the Mega Powers and the legendary main event of WrestleMania V. At Survivor Series 1988, Akeem and Boss Man infamously handcuffed Hogan to the ring post. At the subsequent Royal Rumble, they double-teamed Hogan after Randy Savage was accidentally eliminated by his partner. And on the main event in February 1989, a televised match between the Mega Powers and Twin Towers provided the direct catalyst for Savage's heel turn, when Hogan's concern for Miss Elizabeth after she was knocked down infuriated Savage. The Twin Towers continued to be a prominent tag team, notably defeating the Rockers at WrestleMania V. At SummerSlam 1989, they battled alongside Andre the Giant against Jim Duggan and Demolition in a chaotic match that ended in defeat, but still on the Federation's grandest stage. However, the Akeem gimmick, despite the strong booking, always carried an air of absurdity. The imposing physical presence of George Gray was still there, but it was undercut by the nonsensical character. The African Dream was, at its core, a joke, and that joke increasingly overshadowed the wrestler. The Twin Towers eventually disbanded in early 1990, when the Big Boss Man, having been offered a payoff by the $1 Million Man to reclaim his $1 Million Championship belt from Jake Roberts, refused and turned on both Slick and Akeem. This led to a match between the former partners at WrestleMania VI, where Boss Man defeated Akeem. This loss marked the end of Akeem's high-profile run in the Federation. He remained with the company until October 1990, sporadically wrestling on house shows, but his role had significantly diminished. The African Dream had become a fading nightmare for Gray's career. After his departure, George Gray signed with World Championship Wrestling in 1991, soon assuming a new schizophrenic gimmick. Then again in 1995, reverting to his classic biker character. He even had a brief, albeit unacknowledged, reign as the United States champion. He also made appearances in Extreme Championship Wrestling and various independent circuits, even returning for a dark match in the Federation in 1998 and the Gimmick Battle Royal at WrestleMania 17 in 2001, again as the one-man gang. While he found some success and still commanded respect, he never again reached the same heights of prominence he had enjoyed during his initial Federation run as the Monster Heel or even during the Twin Towers era. The Akeem gimmick had, in many ways, irrevocably damaged his mystique and, consequently, his career trajectory. In later years, George Gray faced personal struggles. He worked as a prison guard at the Louisiana State Penitentiary until a recurring back problem forced him to retire. He experienced a heart attack in 2000, leading to significant weight loss. More recently, in 2016, Gray was part of a class-action lawsuit against WWE alleging traumatic brain injuries sustained during his wrestling career, a lawsuit that was ultimately dismissed. His home in Baton Rouge was also severely damaged by flooding in 2016, leading him to appeal for help through a GoFundMe campaign. The tale of the one-man gang's metamorphosis into Akeem stands as a stark reminder of the whimsical cruelty embedded within professional wrestling's creative machinery. After years spent forging a fearsome persona marked by brute strength and unshakable menace, George Gray saw his credibility sacrificed on the altar of absurdity, repackaged as a parody that undercut everything he had built. The rationale behind this transformation remains obscured by the sport's capricious logic, but its consequences were clear: a monster reduced to mockery and a promising legacy derailed.